Please give this video a like and subscribe! Feed me now! I'm starving. Give me food! Don't make me ask again. Feed me, or else.
This is HBR News number 543. Ross Kemp experiences a record scratch moment where we discuss the news of the week and give it the Badger treatment. Hello everybody and welcome back to Honey Badger Radio. I hope you guys are doing well this week and that you're laughing at all of this absurdity so that you're not consumed by it. I am your host Brian. I'm joined by, as always, my lovely co-hosts Hannah Wallen and Dr. Ranmercam. On this week's
Hello.
It's good. What? Happy what? Munted? Is that what you said?
I just said hello in an enthusiastic way.
Oh, yeah.
Unlike me. But it is what it is.
No, I appreciate it. On this week's show, we're going to be talking about there's like another MP that is looking to start a ministry for men and boys in the UK. Ross Kemp has a new documentary about incels, and there's a scene that was going viral that I thought we could have some fun reacting to, and more, so stick around, it's going to be a good time. And be sure to join us afterwards for the patron-only show. So, I had this article from The Wrap. Apparently, if you are someone who's been looking at stuff that's been going on in the film industry lately, you may know that Hollywood's been in a lot of trouble. They're losing money hand over fist because they're making movies for nobody, for themselves. But that's not enough people to justify their studios existing. So they fired a bunch of men during the Me Too movement, which we talked about on the show. That, you know, if you're wondering what happened to your media, it's because the Me Too movement went through like a tidal wave, a red wave, as it were. And I don't mean like in the voting sense. The Crimson Tide came in, and it washed all the men out, and then the film went to shit. And now they're desperately trying to get their bearings, and so there have been, like, studios that have been shut down and bought by other ones, and there was recently a sort of a bidding war for the property rights of Warner Brothers between Netflix and Paramount bought Warner Brothers. So now Paramount owns Warner Brothers Studios. And one of the first things that Paramount is doing is hiring a bunch of the dudes that got fired during Me Too, or at least lost work. And so here's an article from the Wrap, entitled, "Why is Paramount hiring so many men with troubled pasts?" The hirings of Max Landis is just the latest example of Paramount betting on men who have been accused of sexual misconduct. So we're going to go through this article, but it looks like white men are back, in filmmaking at least, and they're not happy about it. The modern audience
when you say white men, do you mean Jews?
Well, their definition of white, which is a moving target, let's just say. A certain kind of man. So, we're going to be reading this in the patron show. If you guys want to join us for that, go to feedthebadger.com/subscribe to start a membership subscription. For only $5 a month, you'll have access to the community and all kinds of extra goodies like patron shows and lots of events. Like they do game nights on Tuesdays, if I remember correctly, and there are movie nights and, you know, a lot of great people there, including all of us. If you give at higher levels, you'll be able to join in the conversation itself. That is like inside of the actual Discord chat room with us. So you can add your 2 cents if you wish. So consider doing that. And if you don't want to wake up one morning to find that our content's been yeeted from the internet, go to badgerfeed.com. That's badgerfeed.com. I'm sorry about that animated thing on a loop. It doesn't stop, and I can't stop it. So Even though this is an archive link, it still does that. I don't get it. But anyway, badgerfeed.com to find where all of our other content lives. Now, with all that said, let us get into today's stories. All right. And a spoiler alert, for just to get ahead of everything, I am not going to be talking about the terrorist attack in New York City. I just didn't really see the point. I found it predictable.
Or any of the Iran shit, it's already fucking boring.
Yeah. The Iran stuff is boring. Some people just have it under a microscope and they're just constantly tagging me in things. And I'm just like, let's just wait until something definitive happens. You can look too closely at something and get lost in that without like looking at other things. Besides, it's not like there aren't more interesting things happening that are more, let's say, in line with what we discuss on the show. Usually I only talk about geopolitical things when there's a lack of, like specific men's things. But when there's more men's things, I focus on that. So we have men's things today. We have men's things. Oh, and by the way, happy Women's Month, everybody. Let's bear that in mind as we go through the stories. It's Women's Month. Did you guys know? Women's History Month. Sunday was Women's Day, International Women's Day.
I went out of my way to avoid it and not mention it to anyone.
Oh, I know.
Like I did with Valentine's Day.
Well, here's what I like about
talking about International Women's Day on HBR Talk this week. By the way,
my favorite thing about International Women's Day was it was also daylight savings, which means women only got 23 hours when all the men got 24.
There we go. That's fitting since they claim to only get, since the feminists claim to only get, what is it now?
It's the day gap.
Some 70 some cents for
yeah.
every dollar.
It's the day gap.
Every day is International Men's Day.
Yes, of course every day is.
Except for that one day that no one notices or celebrates.
Yeah, we don't have to. It's just it's always around. Okay, so
it's because they only have 23 brain cells for every 24 brain cells a man has. That's what it is.
Yeah. All right, first, let's talk about Dr. Luke Evans. So, Dr. Luke Evans is the 40-year-old Conservative MP for Hinckley and Bosworth who has called for the UK government to appoint a dedicated minister for men and boys. He opened a Westminster Hall debate on February 25th, 2026, arguing that men and boys face specific challenges that receive insufficient focused attention from government or national institutions. These include high male suicide rates, which of course men account for the majority of suicides in the UK, issues related to mental health, social media pressures on young men, loneliness, and evolving societal expectations of masculinity. Evans emphasized that such a role would complement existing initiatives like the government's men's health strategy and would benefit society overall by addressing gender-specific problems without pitting men against women. The proposal has sparked discussion in media outlets, including appearances by Evans on programs like Good Morning Britain. That's when I learned about it. I saw this clip of him debating a feminist on whether or not there should even be a ministry for men and boys, where he debated the idea with others. Supporters highlight statistics showing men's disproportionate struggles in areas like suicide and argue for coordinated policy focus similar to roles for women's issues. While the Prime Minister has acknowledged and shared concerns about men's health and suicide prevention in prior responses, no commitment to creating the new ministerial position has been made. The debate reflects broader conversations about gender equity in policymaking, with Evans framing it as a step toward balanced support for both genders. Now, before I hand this off, I will say, generally, when we talk about solutions for men's problems and the government says we're going to do this or that thing, I'm very suspicious. I don't think the state can help men outside of basically stop being an obstacle to men. But, and I saw that Mike Buchanan, this is another thing too, when I looked into this, Mike Buchanan of Justice for Men and Boys put out an article on that website about this as well. I think he also shares some concerns because the thing is that I think that the blue pill solution is just going to do more harm. And I think this guy is not a red pill guy. I think he's basically like, oh, men have problems. We should, and then they still have this idea of equality in their mind. Oh, we'll just treat them. We'll give them the same thing we're giving the women. It's like, yeah, but what you're giving the women isn't actually helping the women much either. So like, why are we like, why are we spreading the damage here? And but yeah, I mean, that's my concern. I also think he's probably informed by things like adolescence, because that seems to be what a lot of what's happening in the UK with regards to addressing men's and boys issues is coming out of, is the not necessarily the show itself, but rather the message, or the central message of the show, has become like a default mainstream message around the troubles and challenges that boys have. And so if you're operating from that as like your diagnosis, then your cure or whatever, your solutions are probably not going to work out, because they're based on a poor diagnosis, on a bad diagnosis, a kind of malpractice. But with that said, I guess it's interesting that there is a conversation going on around that, and that it hasn't, like, you know, like sort of gone by the wayside. I don't know if Philip Davies has still been active, but he used to be the guy when it came to this stuff. But anyway, with all that out of the way, I give you guys the floor.
Yeah. You said the thing. You said basically the things, and yeah, I did listen to Dr. Evans's speech, and he did indeed raise some important issues, and he did a pretty good job of that. But his conclusion was along the lines of, we have a minister for women, so we should also have a minister for men, and then things will be equal. And as I'm sure I've explained before, this is rather a naive outlook on how the modern British government works. It doesn't matter what office you have, you will be bullied into towing the party line. You'll notice we have a foreign secretary and a home secretary. You might think this would balance everything out so that things are equal, but we've nevertheless found ourselves with a government hell-bent on fucking the home team with a sandpaper dildo made of foreigners. And it's the same with men and women. It doesn't matter what you're in charge of. The Minister for Health only gives a shit about women. The Minister for Transport only gives a shit about women. They could create the office of the Minister for Biscuits, and they too would have to focus their efforts entirely on what women look for in their biscuits. The office of the Minister for Women is fundamentally irrelevant, because that minister's job is to steal from men and to psychologically torture boys in the fake virtuous hope of making life ever so slightly more convenient for women and girls. And it's, as I said, that is an intrinsic duty of every office of government, from the Prime Minister all the way down to Larry the Downing Street cat. The whole fucking institution has been long, slow marched into this feminist tyranny. And at this point, it's the only direction in which they can move. If you appoint a minister for men, they will be in charge of teaching men not to be toxic or macho or laddish or masculine in any way. It will be exactly the same as the Minister for Women. You can appoint a minister for anti-feminism, and that minister will be in charge of enforcing feminism. It sounds Orwellian, because that's where we are right now. So, yeah, respectfully, Dr. Evans, the solution is not to appoint a minister for men. The solution is to dismantle the office of the Minister for Women.
Well, by that logic, also dismantle basically
And
all
then
of the
dismantle
ministries,
every other
because
office.
they're all
One by
they're
one.
all prioritizing women. Yeah.
Yeah, until there's no office left except Larry the Downing Street cat. Let's just leave Larry in charge of everything. And when Larry usurps the throne of the kingdom itself, only then will we have any chance of beginning to undo the misandric tyranny that has descended upon this once glorious nation. But, you know, telling a government representative to diminish the power of the government is like telling a wolf to stop wolfing. It's like telling a predator to stop predating. You're going to need more than words, a great deal more than words. And alas, I am not at liberty to complete that thought without getting arrested for the thoughts that I have articulated. So I will simply arrest my thoughts. Good luck, everyone, and rule Britannia.
I'm going to shorten the statement altogether. The government just can't do this right. Period. Pretty much anything that you name outside of having a national military, enforcing borders, organizing national elections, and
Maintaining law and
facilitating.
order.
Yeah. Well, no, not even maintaining law and order. Just enforcing the borders. Law and order should be maintained locally, but facilitating trade in between segments of a country that are separate, like states or provinces and stuff like that have different rules. That's pretty much all a federal government is good for, and it should be limited to doing the least necessary stuff, the least amount of necessary stuff, and the rest should be left up to states, provinces, and other names for different segments of a nation, because this kind of stuff, all that you get with something like this is an office for the enforcement of male disposability, which kind of doubles up on the military, in all honesty, and is unnecessary, superfluous. And the reason for that isn't just because federalizing itself causes the problem. It's because when people offload responsibility for their own vigilance and their own alertness, their own consideration for the people around them, and so on, their own welfare, to a federal system of any kind, a federal or national system of any kind, it ends up becoming corrupt. When they offload that and they don't monitor it like obsessively for corruption, it will become corrupt. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about a system for showing consideration for a particular demographic. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about a system that has a job of preventing discrimination, a system for handling safety nets, a system for handling any kind of educational issues. Let's see what else we got. Environmental issues. None of that. It doesn't. It's not going to matter which type of system we're talking. Disability. Doesn't matter. You name it. Outside of, well, there really isn't anything. Like, you name it, and if the public isn't consistently monitoring for corruption and sounding off about it, taking measures against it, monitoring their politicians and taking measures against corruption among their politicians, that being voting them out of office if they suck, that leads to corruption. And in this instance, like, I think a lot of people feel like if they just create some sort of office to monitor the issues faced by men and boys, monitor it in government, and just here, you guys take care of this, that the issues will be addressed and the problems will be handled and the public won't have to think about it. But that's not what'll happen. What'll happen is the vultures will come in, feminist or not, and start grabbing money, whatever money is to be had from that office, or the like I said, the male disposability enforcers will come in and start using that office to impose male disposability harder and faster and wider, basically. And that's all you get. That's all you get from government offices. You don't get beneficial responses. You don't get help. You don't even systems that you would think would be helpful to people. Like, I'll go back to the disability system, right? In the US, we have our disability system is folded in with our Social Security retirement, quote, retirement system. Nobody can retire on Social Security. It's really not designed for that. Unless, you want to throw your butt into the county nursing home and live in poverty during your old age. But the Social Security disability system is not much better, and you literally have to have the resources that you don't have if you're disabled to hire somebody to help you prove that you are disabled. You have to do the thing you shouldn't be able to do if you're disabled, that being fight for your benefits that you paid into the system to fund for however many years. And I'm seeing that happen with friends and family who are legitimately disabled and have had to have surgeries because of it, can't stand up because of it, have continuing ongoing medical issues because of it. Like, when you relegate your welfare, your upkeep, your safety nets and everything to federal government, as the American population has done with so many issues, you basically ask for the worst possible way to get things done, or a system that pretends to get things done but actually does jack and shit for most people. And that's what will happen, I think, if there is a ministry for men and boys, or an office for men and boys in a national government. You will end up with the same level of service that the people of the U.S. get from our disability system. And then every time the government shuts down because they can't agree on anything, we'll have this panic. Is there going to be funding for whatever things are now dependent on funding from that office? And people who have jobs that rely on that funding, are they going to get paid? People who need services that rely on that funding, are their services suddenly going to disappear for a few months? And it'll just be one more needle in your arm as a citizen of your country, that you'll have to be dependent on that government agency for things. It's not the way to go. And I understand why people think, well, if women have one, men should have one too. But I ask you to consider women in Western culture, in nations that have offices that are supposed to oversee the welfare and considerations of women, have become profoundly stupid over the last couple generations. Right? Even women 100 years ago that were considered stupid by 100 years ago standards would look at these women today who are reliant on these offices or work with these offices, and just shake their heads. What is wrong with them? Well, they've become profoundly stupid. They can't think for themselves, and they can't do for themselves, and they're victims of everything. Right? If you don't want that for men, then consider maybe that equality isn't all it's cracked up to be. Because I really don't think it is. Let men and boys in the men's rights movement work on men and boys, and leave the government out of it. Because you will, in my opinion, you will regret relying on the government for anything.
Yep. That's exactly my feeling on it. So, all right. Let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. I mean, again, I think, heart probably in the right place, at least in terms of the sentiment getting out there. It's getting people thinking about these things. I appreciate that. It's better than pretending like it's not a problem that needs to be addressed. I just don't think the government can solve that problem. And that's always been my primary contention with people like the Tin Men, who is a much more popular, men's issues advocate online, but he's very much like a pro-state guy. Oh, we'll just have the government do this or that. It's like, no, that's not going to work out the way you think. But anyway, and that I think that another thing about that too is that when you believe that the government should be the gateway for solutions, it means that you end up having to compromise your message because you're trying to get help from the government, and the government you have to talk to it a certain way. You have to care about optics. You have to care about language. You can't criticize certain ideologies that are in power. So you have to do this thing about, well, if we have feminism, then we got to have something like it. It's like, no, can we please not? But so this is my problem with it. Again,
Yeah.
I'm happy that he's saying something, and I hope more people speak out, but I just don't think the state is the solution. But maybe
The
that's
only thing that government bureaucracy exists to do is grow government bureaucracy.
Yeah, that's what
honestly.
it does. It serves itself, right? Okay, so we got a couple of super chows, and then we're going to move on to the next story. So Great Indoors gave us $5. Thank you, Great Indoors, and says, it's that time of the month where we march through the institutions and let it free bleed. That's right, it is Women's History Month. Herstory Month. And then we got one from Meredith G for $5, and she says, HBR News 543, Honey for the Badgers, always assume that creating a government agency for something is only ever going to lead to corruption and authoritarian controls. Yeah, and I mean, like, you would think after COVID, we would have learned this by now, but some people, it's just not that easy. So, all right.
You know what? We should have learned it from Title IX.
Well, yeah, but a lot of people don't even know about Title
take?
IX, and they don't have that in the
That's
UK,
true.
but...
But in the U.S., Americans should have learned it from Title IX. Simply put, it existed for very few years before it began to cost Americans millions and then billions of dollars.
Yeah,
And it just became incredibly expensive. It's ridiculous. If we can't learn from that, and the mission creep, holy shit, the mission creep. It went from doing sort of what it was supposed to originally be intended to do to exactly the polar opposite of what it was originally intended to do. It was originally intended to to its creation. It was originally intended to stop discrimination by eliminating quotas in the university system, and it then began creating quotas as soon as it went from academia to sports, and now it is used for discrimination against men in various areas of education, including whether or not they're treated equally in the system that it forced schools to create as a substitute for the real court system, where interpersonal misconduct is concerned. It became the human resources for students of universities, and immediately began discriminating against male students. It is absolute shit, and everything the government touches does that.
Yeah.
It's because the bureaucracy exists only to perpetuate itself, and that is the prime example, I should say, because there are several.
Yeah.
That one's just more recent.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. We're going to move on to the next story. So let's talk a little bit about Ross Kemp. We're going to stay in the UK for another story here. So Ross Kemp, a veteran British presenter and former EastEnders actor known for his hard-hitting investigations, is fronting a new 5-part documentary series titled Ross Kemp, Lost Boys, Deadly Men on Crime Plus Investigation UK, also available on Amazon, Apple TV, and Now. I'm going to have to look that up on Amazon because I'm curious about it. Inspired by the massive popularity and impact of Netflix's Emmy Award-winning miniseries Adolescence, which dramatized themes of youth radicalization, misogyny, and violence against women, the project sees Kemp delving into the world of incels, involuntary celibates, an online subculture, which is basically said to have been linked to anger, misogyny, and extreme views on masculinity. The series examines whether incels are driving a perceived wave of violence against women in the UK, or if deeper, broader societal issues around young men's disenchantment, mental health, and cultural shifts are at play. Kemp, who's a father himself, confronts common media portrayals and myths, such as the idea of incels as an organized terrorist group, while he interviewed experts, community members, and those affected. So, what I thought was really great was this clip. I'm going to show you guys the clip. First of all, let me show you this. He constructed a room that he imagined an incel room to look like.
This seems like it might have been created.
I'm not done
AI.
yet, but I think it's interesting because it's a case study on.
Should we describe this for anyone who's just listening?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's like go ahead.
It's like a series of horror faces, screaming faces in that low light turquoise green sort of motif. And they're all screaming in anger and melancholy.
You can see there's occasional bits of color in that room on some things that indicate that it's not in black and white, but almost everything in that room is in shades of gray that are tinted with cyan for anybody that uses like Photoshop or Kemp. But all the faces look like
Marilyn Manson.
Varying degrees of
screaming Marilyn Manson faces.
Being forced to listen to happy 1950s rock and roll.
Yeah. So the thing I thought was interesting about this is that he is trying to visualize the incel existence based on what the media has told him. This is what he landed on, okay? So, but here's the best bit, and we're going to watch the whole thing. It's very short. It's like a minute and a half. He does an interview, or he's sitting down with a guy, and he's basically telling him what he believes incels are, as though it's a stated fact. I hope the audio is working, because I have that.
We are, by the way, planning on going over this in more in depth.
Oh, it's gold. It's
on HBR
gold.
Talk.
Yeah.
Incels are a misogynistic group. Effectively, they hate women. How many incels have become killers?
We'd say roughly between 7 to 15 around the world.
Sorry, how many?
Estimates typically range from between 7 to 15 incel killers, and roughly 59 people have been killed in ideologically motivated incel killings.
In the United Kingdom?
Around the world.
It's too many, of course. But inceldom doesn't appear to be the phenomenon I thought it was. It's clear that this documentary needs to take a different direction.
So effectively, I have got everything wrong about incels. I think that they kill lots of girls globally and in the United Kingdom. I think they're a threat, a permanent threat to the security of this country. I think there are hundreds of thousands of them. I think that they are generally white and right-leaning. So all those preconceptions that I have are wrong.
Many of them, yes, and it's not your fault, Ross, because if you were to just pay attention to the media that is most often put out there about incels, it often espouses exactly the stereotypical depiction that you bought into at the beginning. So don't be too hard on yourself, but there is a lot of misinformation there about this topic that it's really good to appeal to the research.
Okay,
No,
so
do be hard on
my
yourself.
mistake.
now
Hold
had
on,
two
hold on.
Islamic terror attacks.
God, sorry about that. Okay.
Oh, hello, Matt.
That was an accident. I didn't mean to click on that. So,
The Obamas are gorillas. You see what I'm
so,
doing there?
but look, I will say before I give you guys the floor on this. So he is putting out this series. He went in with a bunch of preconceived notions. Turned out he was wrong, and obviously it's because of the media, that the way that they portrayed, incels. And I would say that anyone else in this media space, anyone else would have just edited that out and just pushed the narrative anyway. They wouldn't have acknowledged that conversation went in that direction. It would have been on the cutting room floor, and the narrative would have continued on unabated, and it would have just been about white supremacy and mass murder and misogyny and all that. So I'm going to give him credit for leaving it in so that everyone can see his reaction.
I'm telling you, that's just to get us lot to watch it.
It's probably to get people watching, but he's and there's probably still. But the point is though, that those corrections and him to see someone eat crow, I'll take it. That's all I'm saying. No one wants to do that. Everyone's got way too much pride, way too much invested in these beliefs, and to see somebody eat crow and then put it on a video, even if it's just to get you to tune in or whatever. I got to give credit where credit is due.
They did it to Ross Kemp because Ross Kemp is a soap opera actor. I don't know. Do you all know?
No, I don't know what EastEnders is, but no.
Yeah, it's a soap opera that's set in the East End of London. It's like the worst of the worst.
I bet it is.
Terribly written, terribly acted. You all have soap operas in the US.
Yeah, so typical soap opera.
Yeah, it's that sort of thing, and he was a big character in that. And ever since
a heavy,
he's like a big sort of fucking East End wide boy sort of thing.
Yeah,
and he's fancied himself as a hard man ever since then. and he's been playing that.
Wait, it's not. He's not a hard man. He's an odd man. You just say odd, right?
Yeah. If you ever saw the episode of Extras that he was in,
no, not that one. No.
Ricky Gervais did this sitcom about.
I've seen a couple of clips, but not that one. Not with this guy.
And there was one with Ross Kemp, and they really played on him how he tries to play on his hard man image, but he's absolutely not a hard man. He's just an actor who happens to be quite, sort of steroid bulky.
Yeah,
and he's tried to do a few It's funny that you all now think of him as a documentarian. He's done he's done a couple of things where he's tried to present himself as a serious person, but no one in Britain thinks of him as a serious person. He's a soap opera actor.
Yeah.
Finish the write-up.
Sure.
Makes
So
him kind of typical among documentarians.
Yeah.
Because,
early promotions
very
highlight
many
his
ethics,
surprise at
seriously.
learning facts that challenge initial assumptions, including low numbers of actual incel killers, estimated 7 to 15, and the community's potential vulnerability to violence rather than perpetration. Yes, that's also true. The documentary blends the true crime elements with the exploration of masculinity in crisis, aiming to separate sensationalism from reality amid rising concerns over violence against women and girls, declared a national emergency in the UK. It has sparked discussion for its attempt at nuanced, fact-based coverage rather than pure dramatization. So that's the write-up.
So yeah, that clip that we saw with the Irish guy laying down the 7 to 15 statistics, which apparently gave Mr. Kemp some pause for thought. But just like when it comes to the Louis Theroux documentary that's out soon, only on Netflix, this thing is out on a similar cross-section of feminist captured platforms. There's no way in hell they're going to soften the message to which they've long since been married. They're going to take that and then they're going to run in the opposite direction and go, oh no, we were right. Oh, let's not go resting on our laurels and pretending that there are any breaks on this train. let alone any hope of these bastards admitting they were wrong about anything, let alone everything, which is what they were always wrong about. In any case, this statistic that only 7 to 15 incels have been murderers, I'd bet the farm that number includes Elliot. I shouldn't complete his full name because that might earn us a community strike if I did so. And yeah, Elliot, what's his name, existed in the time before incels were a thing. He had never heard of the term incel or even the concept. In the days when young men had found themselves rejected by the women in their lives every which way, and this was just normal. Arguably, it has always been normal. Even since before the Stone Age, 60% of men were effectively of this stock who didn't get to procreate. 80% of women were reproductively active, while only 40% of men were. This phenomenon, currently demonized as incels, has been the majority of men throughout history, or at least until we developed a pair bonding nature that we could culturally, nurture. And now it's probably skewed even further into this polygynist tournament hookup culture. At this point, 80% of the women are sharing 10% of the top men, and the other 90% of the men are left with the scraps. And they are referred to as incels, wheresoever they happen to have been left behind, which even normies have taken to mean a misogynist, terrorist, insurgent group called incels. Meanwhile, in Britain, at least, quite a lot of women and girls are actually getting raped by actual terrorist insurgents. And the aforementioned normies don't give a shit because they watch the mainstream media. And so they're far more concerned with the 13-year-old boys who have spent the first few weeks of their puberty not getting ravenously fucked by their female teachers. And pardon my shattered pelvis, but I don't think Mr. Kemp's documentary is going to challenge that paradigm in any expedient sense. Because in order to do so, you would need to start the series by laying out the blatant truth that incel is a term that was made up to demonize any man or boy who is not presently and at all times receiving the carnal approval of and devoting his every carnal action to at least one woman. Not just any man who has left the plantation, i.e. a MGTOW, but any man who has not yet been bought to work on the plantation, i.e. an incel. Any documentary about quote-unquote incels should be entirely focused on the slave-driving ultra cunts who are tormenting these men and boys. But you're not going to see that on Apple TV or Amazon because these companies are being run by the ultra cunts in question. So, yeah, we've got a busy month ahead of us, folks. We've got at least 2 extended misandric hit pieces to get through. This one and Louis Theroux's one. Whatever. Content is content. Watch this space. It's going to be fun and infuriating, at times oscillating, and at times at the same time. We do this so you don't have to. It ain't much, but it's honest work.
Hey, my cartoon, it fits that rant.
Okay,
Yeah. It's the same thing every time, right? You see people who have been I don't know if brainwashed is the right word, but just lazy. I think that's probably more the right word. Lazy enough to let the establishment media tell them what to think about something. When they run into information that contradicts the narrative that the establishment media has put out there, they react one of 2 ways. Either they give consideration to the new information and evaluate it on its merits, or they freak the fuck out and start making accusations against the establishment media, or not the establishment media, but the source of the new information, and so on. This guy looks like he's gonna at least give it some consideration. And maybe it'll be good. Maybe the documentary will be good. Maybe it'll look at things, and he won't do what feminists do when they see this information about incels, which, when confronted with the fact that it's been less than a dozen, regardless of who's on the list and whether actually they were an incel or not, and whether actually they participated in incel forums or not, and whether actually there's an ideology in those forums. When confronted with the fact that it's an extremely rare phenomenon among incels that anybody self-destructing does so outward instead of inward, feminists will turn around every single time and claim that, well, there have been no feminist mass killers, and that's bullshit. Feminism itself, the ideology itself, kills men every day. There are men all around the world committing suicide in response to conditions that have been created in their lives by custody laws that take their children away from them, due process violations that take their freedom away from them and their reputation, their relationships with friends and family members, and the rest of their community, by human resources type laws that take their jobs away from them and their sense of purpose away from them, by materials that they are forced to digest in the school systems that they grew up in, and in the workplaces that they work in now, that demonize them for being men. They're dying. Men are dying all over the world because of feminism. Directly because of feminism. Feminists agitate directly for discriminatory law and policy to throw men under the bus, and it is crushing them. And all we hear about from the establishment media is that men who do not have women's vaginal seal of approval are demons. Half of the men in the world, at least, are incels. I guarantee you that number is probably higher. Right? If 80% of women are competing for 20% or 10% or 5%, depending on who you talk to, of men, that means they are ignoring most men. And even the the scraps, the ones that just can't get the attention of the men that they're competing for, like they're still not going for the bottom 50%. They're still going to be going for the few that the other women aren't competing for at the top of the group that the other women aren't competing for. Even women who call themselves incels are in that position only because they are competing for the top 20% of men. And if they settle, they're settling for the next 10% down, not men who are at their level, right? That is just a fact. And so when you look around the world and you see all of the military violence that is taking place, the wars and terrorism, gang violence, which has become increasingly militant and organized over the years, that's a result of the imposition of male disposability by female rejection. You're not one of the top 20%. You're not one of the top 10%. You're not one of the top 5%. You might as well go die. That is essentially the message that women, especially feminists, are sending. And if you reject that message, they will call you a terrorist for not dying, not for doing anything else, for not dying. They're wrong. Men are vital to the survival of civilization, more so than women. Women are in the process of destroying it right now. But that is the situation. If anybody is guilty of mass murder, it is feminists. And they will never admit that. They will always tell you it doesn't count because we're not using guns. It doesn't count because we're not stabbing people to death. It doesn't count because we're not going into a specific area and one individual from the movement directly murdering. It's just the government. It's the government's fault. It's the men who passed the laws that feminists demanded, right? Don't buy that bullshit from them. Hold them accountable. Why did you demand those laws? Why did you decide that men shouldn't be able to raise their own children? Why did you decide that men should be imprisoned for decades for crimes they didn't commit in order to avoid embarrassing liars who falsely accuse them? And why did you decide that men should not have any place in the world where they can go to get away from the haranguing of crazy bitches that want to control their environment and their behavior and the way they think and the way they talk and the way they look and the way they sit? If not to kill them, why did you do that? And feminists aren't going to be able to answer that question. They will make up lies. They will claim that men are murdering them. They will say anything they can to avoid accountability because they are allergic to it. You will see them have a reaction that is the psychological equivalent of anaphylactic shock. Then they'll start falsely accusing you and they will block. But at no point will they take accountability for it. But they should still be held to account. They should still be asked. And they should hear it from every angle until it can no longer be ignored. And again, it's that vigilance and that pushing back against corruption that makes the difference. And I'm going to take this right back to the whole ministry thing. This is why a government office, a federal or national government office for the welfare of men and boys isn't going to be the solution to any problems. It's going to take every guy out there rejecting the feminist message, turning it around on feminists, and holding them to account, and holding the government to account. Why are you listening to these stupid bitches? They are killing men. And that is the only way to fix this. Yeah. Murder of Crows says, you forgot breathing. Yes, I've heard it. Why do you breathe like that? I am not surprised. They probably call it man breathing since they put man in front of everything else. Oh, you're sucking up all the oxygen in the room. And it is typical. So that's it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for your commentary, and thank you guys. Again, if you want to send us a message, go to feedthebadger.com/just-a-tip and send us a message so you can add to the conversation. I will generally prioritize reading those before I read super chats or rumble rants. So please consider that. And if you're watching us on mobile, I see a couple of people there, and you're wondering where is everybody? Move it on over to our main channel. Click on the link to our channel, and you'll see that we have a horizontal going out, and that's where the party is. So hopefully I'll see you guys over there in the horizontal as well, or you can just stay in the vertical. That's okay too. All right. So with that said, we're going to move on to the next story. Let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments below. All right. This is not Gangnam Style. This is a parody. It's from like a little bit of a PSA or ad for NASA. And we're talking about the man in the bottom there, Eric Sim. So Eric Sim is a 39-year-old former NASA engineer who filed a federal lawsuit in the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Texas against the city of Houston, 2 Houston Police Department detectives, and 4 women who accused him of sexual assault. So he is fighting back. The 57-page complaint, filed on February 25th, alleges that Sim was the target of a coordinated smear campaign and malicious prosecution after the women, whom he claims conspired via group chats following the end of casual dating relationships, made false allegations of sexual assault against him in 2024. Sim asserts that the detectives fabricated probable cause affidavits, ignored inconsistencies in statements, withheld exculpatory digital evidence such as messages proving encounters were consensual, and tampered with or deleted data from his seized devices, leading to his arrest on multiple counts and the subsequent dismissal of all charges by prosecutors before trial. The lawsuit claims the ordeal violated Sim's constitutional rights caused by the destruction of his career, including his termination from NASA, and amounted to an abuse of the criminal justice system driven by revenge motives. Sim seeks a jury trial and damages for malicious prosecution, civil rights violations, and related claims. The case has drawn local media attention in Houston, with reports highlighting the dropped charges and Sim's accusations of police misconduct and weaponized allegations, though no responses from the defendants or further developments were detailed in the initial coverage. Get it! Get those bitches! And I want to see them sued from here to Kingdom Come and back. But anyway, and I see that this is actually a thing I've noticed. I've seen a few instances of this where men are fighting back litigiously against false allegations that women are making. And look, it's not like everyone can do this stuff, but I think it's important that you don't stay silent on this and you fight back. But anyway, I will leave it to you guys to comment.
This is the way. This is exactly the way that it needs to be handled. Every time that it is possible, every time there's a legal avenue for this, when a false accuser targets a man with allegations of intimate partner violence or sexual misconduct of any kind, his response needs to be consult an attorney, find out if it's feasible for him to sue, and sue every individual and every government agency involved in wrongdoing. If the accuser is the only person that lied, sue the shit out of the accuser. If the police mishandle or the human resources department of your workplace mishandles the allegation, sue them as well. If the prosecutor mishandles things, if the prosecutor commits any process crimes or violates your rights, sue them as well. There isn't any illegitimate target as long as they are involved and participated in the wrongdoing. If somebody comes in and lies on behalf of the accuser, sue that individual if there is a legal avenue for suing them. Any individual who has done that, because that is the only way to get these people held accountable, especially in Western nations where you have laws like the Violence Against Women Act, and I think it's called Violence Against Women and Girls, something or another in the UK, and there's a similar law in Canada that protects liars against being held accountable for process crimes for which they would be prosecuted if they engaged in, say, homeowners insurance fraud instead of sexual violence insurance fraud, sexual violence protection fraud, which is essentially what lying about this stuff is. It's fraud. And until consequences are brought to their doorstep, these behaviors will continue. And at some point, in the near future, men need to start getting together, particularly men who can get with men's rights attorneys, need to get together and look at these laws, see if they are discriminatory. For instance, the Violence Against Women Act has gendered language throughout the law that predisposes the judiciary, the prosecutorial offices, and the police to view these types of violence as male perpetrated, victimizing female victims only, and any accuser that is female as infallible. Right? And then the policies that are encouraged by these laws are discriminatory. They especially the policies that relate to, let's not embarrass the accuser, let's not make the accuser uncomfortable making the accusation. These policies are specifically designed to prevent due process, and there needs to be class action lawsuits against the federal government, the national government, for having these discriminatory laws. They need to be brought down and replaced with gender neutral, very sparse, very direct and upfront, easy to understand, and limited laws that do not attack due process rights for the accused and do not limit assistance for accusers to only female accusers. That's what needs to happen. So yeah, sue the shit out of them. Sue everything that moves when you go through something like this. If you have an opening to do it, because it's the only way they'll learn.
All right, Mike.
Yeah, no, I got nothing for this one. I'm like, yeah, you're doing it right. I've got nothing to get pissed off about, as you were, gentlemen.
Yeah. I think it's just good news. It's good to see, I mean, obviously the guy is smart enough to do it. He was in NASA, one would hope. But, yeah, I think it's good, and I hope he takes him to the cleaners. We'll follow up when we learn more. And yeah, let us know what you guys let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. It's time to move on to the next story. All right, so here's another one that might be a bit of good news. So you guys remember we covered this in October of 2024, so a while ago. HMNZ's Manahuani, a Royal New Zealand Navy dive and hydrographic vessel commanded by Commander Yvonne Gray, pictured here, ran aground on a reef off the coast of Samoa during a hydrographic survey operation. The ship struck a known navigational hazard southwest of Tafitoala village on Upolu Island on the evening of October 5th. This is in New Zealand, or as I like to call it, Middle Earth. So, on the evening of October 5th, it caught fire after grounding and ultimately sank the following day. All 75 people aboard the ship were safely evacuated with no injuries or fatalities, though the incident caused an oil and diesel spill and drew international attention, particularly online trolling directed at Gray as a female commanding officer. New Zealand's defense minister and others publicly defended her against such attacks, emphasizing that the focus should remain on operational facts rather than her gender.
Yeah, but the front fell off. The front's not supposed to fall off.
Yeah.
How many people know that meme? You know that meme?
No, I don't remember that
What was the fucking problem? Well, the front fell off. And 10,000 tons of crude oil. I mean, the front's not supposed to fall off, and neither is the 10,000 tons of crude oil. But at the end of the day, the front fell off. Look it up. Look up the front fell off.
I'll look it up. In early March 2026, so this is why I'm following up. I shared this on my in the Discord group that we get where I grab the stories, and Mike J said, well, this story is old because it wasn't like the follow up, but earlier this week, it was like last week or something. The New Zealand Defence Force announced that charges have been laid under the Armed Forces Discipline Act of 1971 against Gray and 2 other senior officers. The allegations stem from a prior court of inquiry and center on negligence, failure to disengage autopilot in time, poor risk management for hydrographic work near reefs, absence from the bridge in a hazardous area, inadequate supervision, and decisions that contributed to the ship being lost. Gray faces alternate charges of negligently permitting the vessel to be lost by being absent or failing to attend to her duties, and could face up to 2 years of imprisonment if convicted at the upcoming court-martial. This is a military trial. No date has been set yet. Although her lawyer, Gray, has denied the charges and plans to defend them vigorously while noting she has endured significantly unjustified criticism. The case has revived media coverage, including renewed discussions of sexism in the initial backlash, though the proceedings remain focused on alleged bridge and command errors. And it was also worth pointing out that when we covered the story originally, I think that the New Zealand or Middle Earth's government was basically celebrating the fact that it was like she was, I think, like a first in terms of like women in charge. So I just thought it was funny. Like nobody was hurt, but I think New Zealand lost like, half their GDP like from that crash. It was like billions of dollars or whatever New Zealanders have, like gold coins. I don't know, what do they have?
The tiny complement of their fleet is it's a significant loss. Now,
Yeah,
I'm not saying men have never done this. I'm sure there are numerous examples of male Navy commanders losing vessels in similar instances of, Darwin Awards like this. But it's a matter of frequency. It's a matter of proportion. This woman sank 10% of the New Zealand fleet through pure negligence. I don't think any man has ever done that. Maybe it's a coincidence. I don't know. It's a question of how big your fleet can be before you endeavor to put a woman in charge of one of the vessels. And more importantly, if you're going to put a woman in charge of 1 million tons of metal, it ought to be because she is more qualified than all of the other candidates, not because she's a she. You could say the same about any demographic. You could put a fucking penguin in charge of a vessel, and that vessel gets disintegrated. Then it is not necessarily penguinophobic to conclude that you probably shouldn't have put a penguin in charge just because it's a penguin. And that's what you did, isn't it? You put a woman in charge just because she's a woman. And yes, you could wax lyrical all day that no one died. Yeah, sure, this penguin destroyed $1 billion vessel, but at least no one died. Yes, that speaks well to the men who were in charge of the evacuation process. It doesn't speak well to the penguin who was in charge of keeping the vessel afloat in the first fucking place. And it will do you no good to cry, you just hate penguins. You're just trolling this poor penguin because you're a Miss Penguinist. No, dickhead. You are an anti-humanist because you're denying humans the opportunity to command a ship because you're so fucking preoccupied with being inclusive to penguins. Fuck penguins. They should all fuck off to the mountains and we'll see who comes back stronger. Narrator's voice, yes, he is still talking about women. Women should do what men do. Women should do what the top 1% of male risk takers do. Many may die, but that's the sacrifice I'm willing to make. But why?
There you go. The thing that really struck me about this is the whole, it's misogyny, the trolling is misogyny, blah, 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 blah. Is she aware that instances, and it doesn't necessarily have to be military, like oil companies have had some pretty catastrophic accidents, and every single time, the man in charge gets mercilessly ridiculed. And the one that comes to mind first is old. Actually, ExxonMobil had an oil spill. I want to say in New York. It might have been one of the Carolinas, but it was one of the East Coast harbors, and it was pretty big, and it was considered a pretty big disaster at the time. And we heard all about the cleanup. BP had the same thing with not with a ship, but with with drilling. And when that happened, you're right, Valdez, not yep, Murder of Crows. And of course there was, I can't remember which comedian it was, came out and like really sexualized it, jokes like, "Oh, I'm only gonna come in halfway into your harbor," and all that. I think the captain was accused of being drunk. I don't know if that ever panned out to he was actually drunk or not, but the upshot of it was the captain was, like I said, mercilessly ridiculed. And if the sexes had been reversed, it would have been referred to as all kinds of sexual harassment, misogyny, whatever else, as an excuse to try to silence criticism of the captain's behavior. But because the captain is a man, and the fact that men's reputations are as disposable as men themselves in society, instead of suggesting that maybe it was mean to criticize and make fun of the individual with the prestigious and highly responsible office, to wreck a ship and create a huge mess. Well, they just escalated the ridicule and the criticism because it was a dude. And of course, you saw how the the male officials at BP were ridiculed as well. And not only were they ridiculed, but the then President Obama actually used it as an excuse to reimpose the moratorium on offshore oil drilling in the U.S. for at least some time period. So yeah, it's a totally different story when the person being criticized is female. All of a sudden, you're not allowed to talk about that thing she did. All of a sudden, you're not allowed to get mad. All of a sudden, you're not allowed to think she did anything wrong. All of a sudden, if you do criticize the things that she did and get mad and think she did something wrong and want to talk about it, you're not allowed to be sarcastic, right? You're not allowed to do any of the things you would do if the individual was male. You're not allowed to gender your criticisms. You're not allowed to use any stereotyping or any such thing that might go along with those criticisms, because it's a woman this time, and women are supposed to be exempt, right? Which is one of the reasons why women don't belong in positions of power and authority, because they can't take the responsibility, they can't have the accountability to recognize that when they do something wrong, when they fuck up, they're going to get criticized, and it is going to be mean, especially when they fuck up big time and the whole world knows about it, sees it happening, and has every reason in the world to ridicule what they did or get angry about what they did and discuss the damage that they did. It's just absolutely an indictment of female accountability when there's every reason in the world to suggest that maybe this woman shouldn't have been piloting, driving, captaining, whatever. And then the response is, "Oh, how dare you? Don't you know this is a woman? She's exempt. You misogynist." Sorry, that is just, it's not valid. It wasn't valid when it was accepted. It's not valid now, and it's becoming less accepted. And if you don't want women to start getting excluded from these types of positions on the basis of their unaccountability, should stop using the word misogyny to respond to every criticism that is made of them.
All right. So we're going to move on to the next story in a bit. But first, we're going to look at this. So, because Mike said we should. Oh, there's no audio. Wait, hold on. I gotta. Let me stop sharing, and then I gotta share it again because now I really want to know. So here we go. All right.
Pleasure, thank you.
This ship that was involved in the incident off Western Australia this week.
Yeah, the one the front fell off?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not very typical. I'd like to make that point.
Well, how is it untypical?
Well, there are a lot of these ships going around the world all the time, and very seldom does anything like this happen. I just don't want people thinking that tankers aren't safe.
Was this tanker safe?
Well, I was thinking more about the other ones.
The ones that are safe?
Yeah, the ones the front doesn't fall off.
Well, if this wasn't safe, why did it have 80,000 tonnes of oil on it?
Well, I'm not saying it wasn't safe. It's just perhaps not quite as safe as some of the other ones.
Why?
Well, some of them are built so the front doesn't fall off at all.
Well, wasn't this built so the front wouldn't fall off?
Well, obviously not.
How do you know?
Well, because the front fell off and 20,000 tonnes of crude oil spilled into the sea caught fire. It's a bit of a giveaway. I just like to make the point that that is not normal.
Well, what sort of standards are these oil tankers built to?
Oh, very rigorous maritime engineering standards.
What sort of thing?
Well, the front's not supposed to fall off for a start.
And what other things?
Well,
Okay. I think I got the bit. It's extra funny when it has an Australian accent attached to it, but it's pretty funny.
That's supposed to fall off.
I mean, does it keep going like that, Mike? For it's like
Basically, yeah. You got the idea. Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Keep debating on that theme.
It's good. It's good. All right. So anyway, I got a super chow, and we're going to hold on a second here. Let me make sure that this is still sharing for you guys. Okay. I got a super chow, and then we're going to move on to the final story. So Richard Bier gives us $5 and says, outside of the sexual encounters, this sounds eerily similar to the Seneca Valley High School incident. He's lucky that a group of knights in leather didn't show up to his residence and decides to just take care of business. Yeah, he's talking about the previous story with the NASA guy fighting back against the... Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, these allegations, they are, like, I don't know, man. These people don't realize how serious they can be. Like, there was one made against Andrew Wilson, just, like, casually thrown out by some podcaster who basically called him a rapist. And it's like, you just say that shit because you're mad at him. Dude, don't you think that, like, this is really, really dangerous? You're playing with fire, basically. But anyway... thank you, Richard, for the super chow. Okay. So, we're going to move on to the next story. And I got to set it up first. Because this one, it's amazing, okay? So, in Brooklyn Park, which is a historic district inside of Richmond, Virginia, a pro-Palestine mural is creating controversy, but not for the reason you may suspect. So, the mural, created by Lauren East of Los Angeles... Well, let's just look at the mural, and you tell me if there's anything weird about it. All right, so historically, you might not know this, but the Free Palestine has always been a watermelon. They use the watermelon because it has the colors of the flag, and this is a way of sort of signaling to people who are pro-Palestine, without like exposing what they're actually showing, which is the flag of Palestine. Now, seems a little, I don't know, it's a little, I mean, it's very well painted, but not everybody was happy with this. So
in a way, it's funny because they might not know what they're doing, but it's funnier because they must know what they're doing.
okay. So the mural created by Lauren East of Los Angeles depicts a brown-skinned woman holding up a watermelon whose seeds spell out the phrase "Free Palestine." And while the woman is clearly meant to be a Palestinian, and the watermelon has long been associated as a symbol of Palestine, not everyone knows this. Certain members of Richmond's community, which, by the way, this is in a black neighborhood where this mural was where it was set up. It drew some concern with the mural. President of the Richmond chapter of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, William F. McGee, stated, quote, "Graphic illustrations such as this have been used to denigrate African American people, to make us feel like we're less than, to make us feel smaller, to make us feel unintellectual, lazy, shiftless," end quote. Local civil rights activist Gary Flowers acknowledged the meaning of the mural, but still took issue with it, stating, quote, "We've come fully aware of the Palestinian movement and its symbolism, but in downtown Northside, a historically black neighborhood, the sight of the watermelon that is painted behind me is offensive." When asked for comment, the mural's artist Lauren East said, "I, as an activist, would never intentionally put my time, money, and energy into creating something racist or harmful to any community, rather the opposite." I don't know what the problem with that. I like watermelon. Don't you guys like watermelon?
You're trying to kill me, aren't you?
Anyway.
Do you like watermelon is the question. And if the answer is yes, then what the fuck is the problem? If you showed a picture of an Englishman enjoying a cup of tea, I would not be offended, even though, and I'm risking my reputation as an Englishman when I say this, I don't much care for tea. I'm a coffee drinker. As far as I'm concerned, tea is coffee's weaker runt of a younger sibling. And even when I do fancy a cup of tea, I prefer green tea. Yes, sorry, Orwell, sorry, Churchill, sorry, royal family. I find Indian tea to be a mediocre middle ground of underwhelming nothing. No amount of milk or sugar will change that. And nothing is precisely for what I apologize. And this story that we're looking at here is like me seeing a picture of an Italian enjoying tea. A North Italian, shall we say, an Italian who looks white. It's like me looking at such a picture and thinking, how dare you? Don't you know that countless of my ancestors were slaughtered in a war that was started over the destruction of several crates of tea? How very dare you? It's the joke that a lot of us will tell because we pretend to give all that much of a shit about tea. And I'm not even going to pretend. Fuck tea and fuck Italians. It's that easy, do you see? It's as easy as saying fuck watermelons and fuck Palestinians. I realize it might be difficult to say fuck watermelons if you really like watermelons. It's difficult to say fuck fried chicken. No matter who you are, everyone likes fried chicken. It's delicious and it's infinitely versatile. And it's not against anyone's religion. But have you ever even met a Palestinian? No, then no wonder you can't tell when you're looking at a mural depicting a Palestinian painted by someone who didn't have access to that light oak brown paint. They only had the requisite buckets of dark mahogany brown available at the time. Presumably, it's just cheaper, and you took that personally, whoever you are. Well, sorry, but you don't own that shade of brown. You don't own any shade of brown. When you consider most mammals and most tree bark and most dirt and quite a lot of rocks, that shade of brown seems to be the shade and hue most common in terrestrial nature. It's going to appear all over the place, and maybe you should see your way to dealing with it. And maybe that's why coffee is better than tea. Coffee maintains its dark brown ambience, even when you add a cup of cream, whereas tea becomes positively Caucasian at the slightest drop of semi-skimmed piss milk. All hail coffee, all hail watermelon, and all hail fried chicken. I have forgotten where I was going with this, or what I was talking about, or why anyone is even pissed off, and that's probably for the best. Let us eat, drink, and be merry, and let us draw racist murals just to piss off the niggers. It's funny. So long, everyone. It's nice knowing you.
Oh, sorry guys, I can't breathe.
Oh,
This is so-
Hannah.
I had to.
Wow.
Oh, jeez. That might be the only thing I need to say.
Bruh. Anyway.
Jeez, Pete. No, this is sad. This is and the only other thing that I'm gonna point out about this is was it just last week? That
Yeah,
a
no, it was last
man,
Thursday. Your
was
fire
targeted?
alarm was
Oh
chirping.
yes, oh yes, the chirp.
Yep.
Yeah, that had nothing to do with this. It was not foreshadowing. We weren't trying to.
No. It's just
And
fate.
I could hear it, and it was driving me fucking nuts, and I couldn't concentrate because of it. Because, I'm another stereotype there. Those loud beepy noises that don't have anything to do with what I'm doing in the moment just completely fuck me up. But in any case, no, just last week, I think there was a guy who got canceled for having Tourette's, and now we have this woman who did something overtly, deliberately. She claims it wasn't deliberately racist, but she could have put a light-skinned person, since this is the United States, and a huge portion of the Free Palestine movement are light-skinned women with blue hair or various other colors of hair that are not natural, and nose rings and shit like that, or trans women. She could have put a light-skinned trans woman and watermelon, but she didn't do that. She was trying to maximize the progressive stack material that she could put on there, and ended up tripping up on the progressive stack instead, tripped over it, and is not getting nearly as canceled. Like, I didn't see anything about this. I didn't see any discussion about this on X. I didn't see anything. It didn't appear to have trended. Maybe it will as more people start covering it, but it didn't trend the day that it happened. And there isn't some movement to get artists of this ilk put into separate but equal systems like there was with people with Tourette's. Right? Like I literally watched people argue on X that people with Tourette's should have separate but equal accommodations or be put in camps because they can't control what they say. Like, and it's not even a majority among people with Tourette's. It's that particular type of tic is rare. It's just the most famous one because everybody thinks it's funny, except for the individual that it's happening to, who is often mortified because it happens at the most embarrassing of times, most inappropriate of times, right? This individual had full control over her actions. She could have done some research into what might fly in the neighborhood, what might be appropriate in the neighborhood, what people might identify with in the neighborhood, and didn't do that. She didn't do that. She just decided to stuff as much progressive stack into this mural as she possibly could. And like I said, she tripped over it and fell flat on her face, and has not received anywhere near the backlash for actions that are fully under her control that a man received for having a disability in public. Like that's the underlying, that's the bottom line. And yeah, this is hilarious. The way that she fucked up is hilarious. By the way, guys, is it racist to be allergic to watermelon? Because I'm asking for a friend. But in any case, they just
gotta change the free Palestine logo. Don't make it a watermelon. Try something else. Like maybe like, I don't know, like a bucket of wings or a basketball, or maybe like
this is the U.S. What are they going to do if you use the flag, the Palestinian flag?
Well,
that's the color. The reason they chose watermelon.
I know it's the colors. Yeah,
of
it's the red, green, and
flag.
Yep.
There is no law against creating a mural with the actual Palestinian flag on it. Here, you're not going to get accused of hate speech and prosecuted. People might argue more against a mural. It might not be as easy to defend. That, you know, people might say, hey, you know, we disagree with the message, and be more likely to criticize the message as opposed to, you know, you idiot, you put a racist stereotype up on a mural that's like what, 2 stories high, 3 stories high, without considering how it was going to look to the neighborhood. But they don't want to do that. They don't want people to be able.
I'm
to
here for it. Let them fight.
Yeah, the more that the woke community eats itself, the better. Honestly, but
yeah.
It doesn't seem to be doing it this time.
No,
and
I think
the main difference that I'm seeing here is that the individual who had the faux pas is a woman.
Yeah. Well, they're just gonna, but I mean, if anything, they're just gonna demand like money or something, reparations for the pain and suffering and the generational trauma that this.
Oh, maybe they'll demand it be
30-foot long watermelon. It's fucking art. Okay. Well, we're gonna stop it there. I'm gonna wrap it up. So thanks guys for coming on the show. We're gonna check out this article. Why is Paramount hiring so many men with troubled pasts? We're gonna be looking at all of the talent they're bringing back because the basically the people who kicked these guys out with the Me Too movement, they don't know how to make movies. So they're going to try and course correct by bringing back problematic dudes. So if you want to join us for the patron show, become a badger yourself by going to feedthebadger.com. $5 a month will get you into the Discord server. It's basically like less than a cup of coffee these days. You know, while prices fluctuate, our memberships stay the same if we can help it. And hopefully we will see you guys there. I want to thank Mike and Hannah for their commentary on the stories today. I want to thank Mike J for helping me with that last write-up for that story that I thought was hilarious. I want to thank the artist for painting that mural and making my day. But I want to thank you guys most of all for watching the show. So if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, and let us know what you guys think about what we talked about on the show today. And please, please, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of HBR News, and we will see you next Tuesday.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.